Alright, this is a big day. I am weighing the Land Cruiser. So in this video I'm going to share with you the last minute work that I've done on the vehicle before our very big trip, and of course I'm going to go and find out if my challenge that I imposed on myself, and that was to build a fully functioning troop carrier camper without doing a GVM upgrade. And I'm going to say it now, and I'm going to say it again, and probably enough to bore you. This is not a minimalistic build. It's a practical build, keeping a close eye on weight, and I want to turn this into an overland tourer that is, and when I compare it to my 2017, 18 and 19 troop carrier, the green one, my second one, that vehicle was at or slightly within 50 kilograms above GVM when fully loaded, full of order, full of fuel, full of food, and 2 people. This will be in the same configuration 100 kilograms below GVM. I'm not doing a GVM upgrade because GVM upgrade means I have to put much stiffer springs, stiffer and harder, firmer shocks, etc. Which means when it's not at GVM, its ride is lousy. I'm Andrew St Pierre White. Join me as I share my passion for building 4-wheel drive trucks and travelling to the remotest parts of the world. These videos are made possible by contributions from Patreons. Join the Patreon family now. Taking the Troopy to SWAT Wheel and Tyre and Suspension near my home because, well, first of all, why do I think that these guys are going to do a good job? Okay, right. Firstly, not a Nissan Navara in sight. That's a good sign. And secondly, Heine recommended them, said they did a brilliant job on his Hilux. So what am I doing? Now you see the way it's sitting now. It looks quite good. It's slightly down at the back, but it's empty. And if you have a look at the springs here, you can see that there should be a gap there, which means that as it's standing now empty, I've already, just with the weight of the car, used the first stage of the parabolic spring, which means the ride is quite hard, even when empty. I can't have all of stage 1 used, and I haven't even loaded it yet. The idea is that when it is loaded, there should still be a little bit of stage 1 to use. There's still a good distance between the bump stop and the chassis, so there's still reasonable axle movement even when I'm full with these springs, but the ride is no good. The ride is hard on the back and good on the front, and the vehicle doesn't feel right. So that's what's happening this morning. I'm taking out these 350 kilogram springs, and I'm putting in the Terrain Tamer 500 parabolics. During the course of the build, I've been, of course, releasing a lot of videos, and YouTube is a terrible place, to be honest. It's a terrible place to actually admit that you still need to learn something, because there are so many people out there that see that as weakness and will attack. And at the moment, the troop carrier has been sitting down at the back, and a few people have said, it's obviously very heavy. That doesn't mean it's heavy at all. And actually what that does to me is it just shows that these people actually are completely ignorant. I'm quite good at what I do. I've built a lot of vehicles. It's down at the back because I decided that I wanted to avoid the common practice of over-springing a vehicle. Too much springing for the weight, which affects the ride especially when the vehicle is empty. So I fitted a spring that I knew could be too light for the load, and I admit it. It turned out that's what happened. But I would never have known that had I not tried it. And fortunately for me, the guys at Terrain Tamer said, we'll help you with your experiment. What do you want? What would you like? And I said to them, I'd like to try that spring. And they said, well, we think it might be a bit too light, but try it out. And I did. And I now have to admit that I was wrong. Okay, I'm welcoming the attacks. That now will invite attacks. So this is how it should sit. That now has the correct stance. And if you look at the spring, that's how it should look without a load. And once I'm loaded, that should still have air, even at full load. So it's looking slightly up at the back, which is how it should look because it's empty. I know that most of you know that what I'm actually trying to do is learn something, and I've always said that I am not really any different from any other four-wheel driver out there, except that I broadcast my process of learning something. It's the only difference. And yes, I've been doing it a long, long time. I'm still learning. So the question is, of course, what's the ride going to be like? See, I wanted to avoid being oversprung, and that's why I tried the lower spring to see if it worked, and it wasn't quite there. So now I might be oversprung. I hope not. So my goal here was to get the springing absolutely perfect. And I still don't know if I'm absolutely perfect until I load the vehicle to the maximum payload and then take it on a trip to see how it handles. I've now driven a short distance empty on those springs, and that the ride feels good. It doesn't feel too hard. It is definitely better than the lighter springs because, as I said, the lighter springs were too light and therefore I was undersprung, which will also give a not optimum ride. Okay, so what I'm now got to do, and I will let you know how it goes, do a big trip with the heavier springs. What I am going to do right now, though, is take it out. I'm going to fill up both tanks because that's the way I have weighed it up to this point. I empty the car, but I fill both fuel tanks. I'm now going to weigh it. My goal was 150 kilograms under GVM, fully loaded for a trip. That was my goal. That still is my goal. Have I achieved that goal? Is the question I'm about to answer. As usual, I have brimmed the tanks, but I have also brimmed the water tank and water heater. There are also some emergency spares that I've left in, as well as some tools. As it stands, it is ready for the biggest, longest, most challenging trip I'm ever likely to throw at it.
Total weight is 31.38.
31.38.
The front weight is 14.18. And rear weight 17.20.
So that means I have 192 kilograms to load it. I'm actually surprised at the weight.
Let me review. Where have I saved weight? Well, the bull bar, the rear bumper, no second spare wheel, and no brush bar rock sliders.
I saved almost 50 kilograms just with the back bumper alone, and 70 kilograms with the side rails. So that's 120 kilos saved stat, and yet I'm not seeing it.
Where have I made it heavier? The inverter, about 18 kilograms. The awning, 3 or 4 kilograms.
A bigger fridge, yes, a bigger fridge, and a much bigger water tank. So those are two added weights.
The interior, this is an unknown. I do have a much larger water tank that's made of stainless steel. That's probably going to be 10 plus kilograms. One of the unknowns is the weight of the wooden interior when compared to the previous alloy interior. The wooden one has fewer drawers, therefore fewer drawer sliders, and they contribute to weight considerably. And if it is heavier, there is not a chance that it's 100 kilograms heavier. I reckon the weights are comparable. I've even saved weight with the batteries. They're now lithium and not lead crystal. I have added more electrical components, a more elaborate audio system with an amplifier that's probably 10 kilograms, but it's not possible to be 100 kilograms heavier.
As you can see, I didn't empty it completely, but I don't want to be too anal in trying to reduce weight. I wanted to get a realistic, where am I?
So I'm a little stumped, to be honest. But what I have proved is that it is possible to take a troop carrier, convert it into a fully equipped camper, without doing a GVM upgrade.
The interior layout is where it is the most different. And I wanted to add more live-in. The other one had some live-in, but I wanted to add more. I wanted to improve accessibility. I have improved accessibility. I have improved interior living in a massive way. Massive. Even better than I thought it was going to be. And it is so comfortable in this car. It's my new place, my new spot. What I've lost is a little bit of packing space when compared to the previous troop carrier. However, the packing space that I do have access a little easier, and I've got a much bigger water tank, much bigger inverter and electrical system, and more battery capacity, and altogether this is better. Now, whether you think the green one is better, I think you're going to be judging it on the way it looks, and that's absolutely fine. It's subjective. That green one was gorgeous, I agree. And in some ways I prefer the green color, but I prefer the look of this because it's cool. It's much cooler. But in terms of the look of it, I love them both equally, to be honest. I'm in love with this car. Hello again. I'm in a very cluttered workshop, so I've kind of moved the airplane outside, not all the way because it's going to rain. I brought the Troopy inside, not all the way because it's going to rain, and I am doing the final preparation for the canning, and I want to show you I'm having a huge amount of fun building the door that I mentioned a long time ago that is going to work for here, and I'm building it from the components from a quick pitch. They sell the door shelf, they sell it, but I wanted it to do more than just be a table. So that is the standard.
That's the standard.
The quick pitch, and that fits in the door like that.
Yes.
Okay. And now this is the chassis frame of it, which is that without the boxes. So that's what we're going to start with. And the idea is this. This ends up in there so that when it opens,
So it will be fitted on the table.
it's on the table. To me, the whole point about induction cooking is convenience and speed. Okay, so if you're making your induction cooking convenience and speed being priority, then do that. At the moment, my gas cooker takes quite a bit of time to get out and rig out. I don't mind doing it, but I'm trying to get every single advantage possible out of induction cooking.
So Andrew, when it comes to fitting the stove,
Yeah.
so what's your idea? Because now we need to mount this on the table, correct?
We would mount it onto here.
Correct.
Sean and I worked on this for about an hour, and I decided that it was very important that the induction cooker should be removable, so I can choose where to cook my meal.
The other thing is that consideration is that if we've got the stove here, how do we take it out to clean around it?
Which actually resulted in us deciding to start all over again, which I did once I had got the components back in my own workshop.
So here it is here. That pocket goes in there. I'll show you that later. My stove. So if you can imagine, that's the door.
and that hinges, and that's the table, and that clamps closed against the door, and that now opens, and I've got my stove. But I didn't want to have the stove permanently mounted here, because what happens if I want to cook on the other side of the car? Well, very easy. I take a strap and I remove it, and I built these. This is part of the modification of the quick pitch components. They haven't been powder coated yet because I'm still working on it. Once I've finished it, and I'm pretty close, I'll send it away for powder coating, and then I'll fix it to the door. And the idea is that that actually fits in there, but it needs a bit of trimming. So that's how it looks, and the table will be like that. It allows me to open this drawer all the way, all right, and I can cook with my kitchen there. So that's open. Okay, is there room to cook? Not really. As I said, this is not a big vehicle. But that's why I wanted the stove able to move. So it's actually stored here while driving, which gets that out of the way. And if I was cooking, I would probably cook at the kitchen on that side most of the time, but I can do it here as well. If there was a very strong wind blowing or something like this, and I wanted wind shield from the car maybe. Anyway, the point is that it's very, very versatile, and I want to put something in there so some of my cooking equipment sits in there as well. All right.
Okay, I'm waiting.
That's that.
Wow.
Okay.
That's very nice.
Nice, eh?
Yep, good job.
So I put the foam on there.
I actually like that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Now for the pièce de résistance.
Wow.
No rattling.
This is good.
Hey, nice, eh?
This is very good. I like that. I like how you put the rivets there, and they all symmetrical.
Yep, close enough.
Yeah. No, that's
and
nice.
then to take out the frying pan, it's that. And my frying pan is ready. And then if I'm ready to cook, I plug that in. Or
Use it on the Max Trucks table.
move it on the Max Tracks table, but it clips in there. It clips in.
Yeah, because the rubber underneath it.
Rubber, and the way I've cut that hooks in there. So as you just slide it in, and as it locks in, and then to put it back, one strap.
Well, Andrew, now you're going to put me out of business.
So now he will do this for you.
Yeah,
He will.
I will.
There you go. That was the reason behind this. And I'm
Yes.
sure you will refine it and make it even better. Okay, shall we put it onto the car?
This is, I actually really like this. Okay, I'm fitting the rev nuts, and we have 3 more left. And the beauty of the rev nuts, they go on the original holes on the door. So basically, so you don't have to put a, because you cannot reach at the back of the table to put the nuts. That's why you need to use the rev nuts. And they are very strong.
And there are 10 of them,
Yes.
which is ample.
Yep, I'll hold it for you.
Okay, that's good.
Alright.
Still have to work out the clamping mechanism, but ta-da! There you go. And that is it. I'm quite pleased about that. So I want to cook. I'll plug that into there, and unstrap that, and I cook. I need a catch system that I can, when I close it, and it'll stay and won't rattle. So I've done that side, I'm busy doing this side now. So that's what I've been doing today. And then this is finished. Today we're doing final preparations for the trip on the troop carrier. Not a lot to do on the troop carrier, but quite a bit to do on the Range Rover. We've also put load bars on the troop carrier so my table can be stowed high, and a few other bits and pieces that Rob is helping me with right now. These are to cure a couple of rattles that I've been suffering. Not serious ones, but with a really rough trip like the canning, got to get it right. But actually, at this moment, the trip is done. I can basically say that with that, it's ready to go.